Welcome to Star Movie Recap Channel. Today, we are down to the finale where we start with a flashback showing our man David Webb being enlisted into the strange world of Treadstone. This is where Webb gets shaped, etched and polished into the ultimate weapon known as Jason Bourne. Quick forward post the whole Blackbriar exposure, and where's our guy? He's keeping a low profile in sunny Greece on the Greek-Albanian border. Jason feels like playing troublemaker and delivering one-punch knockouts. Not exactly a fair fight if you were to ask me, but Bourne's not lost his touch though. While all this is going down, we stream off to cold Iceland where Nikki Parsons, hacker specialist, is chilling with a crew of keyboard warriors and mystery spillers. What's she up to, you ask? Oh, just hacking into the CIA central servers, no big deal. In the meantime, back at the farm by farm, we meet CIA HQ and Langley. Heather Lee, the head honcho of cyber ops, clocks the intrusion and sounds the alarms with nerves of steel. She's working to fix the digital mess Nikki's left in her wake, but wait. There's more. As Nikki's scrounging through the CIA's dirty laundry, she uncovers the Treadstone project and what's inside. New earth-shaking intel about Bourne and his further Richard Webb. The CIA then gained access to the power of the office, and after introducing malware they shut it off. Nikki catches every one of her effects and burns any hint of her cyber attack, and with that our story truly starts to heat up. CIA Director Robert Dewey receives an urgent call from Craig Jeffers about a significant hack. Simultaneously, internet entrepreneur and CEO of Deep Dream Aaron Kaller, secretly associated with Dewey, requests a gathering. Heather Lee is quite impressive as she figures out how to assemble data from practically zero information. She rapidly unravels the hack was executed by Nikki Parsons. Furthermore, includes Jason Bourne. She is promptly assembled into a conference with Dewey and recognizes the potential risk. Conceived postures to their most recent program named Iron Hand. Dewey gives Heather unlimited authority over the activity. He too contacts a bitter previous Blackbriar operative known only as the Asset, viewing Bourne as a double-crosser. The resource consents to the new mission and promptly finishes his ongoing one. Back in Greece, Bourne is in another fist battle, not being at the time he is losing gravely, yet he sees Nikki in the group, which makes him end the battle very quickly. He finds an address and the scene shifts. Nikki exiting a boss where a massive riot is taking place. The CIA also get wind of her position and send two teams to that location, as well as get affirmation that the resource has shown up in Greece. Nikki at long last finds Jason, saying that she expects to uncover the CIA and all of their activities. Jason advises her to walk and talk, and she illuminates to him that his father was straightforwardly involved in that. They were watching Jason completely for obscure reasons he would rather not get once more into the game in the wake of leaving 8 years ago, but he spots a CIA operative and knows it's too late to leave. He tells Nikki to meet him at the statue of Athena. Takes off as the CIA ID Jason Bourne and is not happy at all. The two Alpha colleagues pursue Jason, however are driven into a snare and an exceptionally speedy belting the mob's raise considerably further, and Dewey's pulse is doing likewise as Bravo Group zeroes in on Nikki. Sees the police bicycle in tears through the city streets. Nikki finds herself cornered, but Bourne intervenes, shooting a smoke grenade into the Bravo team's car and causing them to crash. Nikki jumps onto the bike with Bourne and they speed off with the acid hot on their heels. Meanwhile, the CIA observes restlessly as Conceived shows amazing bike moving abilities. The asset crashes his car with Bourne skillfully climbing a set of stairs on his bike utilizing satellite imagery provided by the CIA. The asset positions himself at the only exit from the streets, rifle at the ready as Heather gives a 15-second commencement. The CIA watches in high strain toward the finish of the commencement. The resource's slug finds its mark, strikes Nikki and causes Bourne to swerve and crash. Bourne manages to crawl away and tries to shield Nikki, but the asset lands another fatal shot. In her dying moments, Nikki tosses Bourne a key. With Nikki's death, Bourne is left with a burning desire for bloody cold revenge. Bourne uses the key Nikki gave him at a train station locker, which contains a safe box full of classified information. Amidst a troubling flashback, he uses coordinates from the documents that directs him toward an area in Berlin. At the same time, a show for a program known as Profound Dream is in progress. Aaron Kaller, the program's founder, is one of the main speakers. While the program is advertised as a social media platform intended to offer clients extreme security, Kaller has been stealthily teaming up with Dewey and the CIA. Dewey expects to take advantage of their profound dream of observation through the Iron Hand program, a possibility that leaves Kaller profoundly uncomfortable. Bourne shows up in Berlin and takes a taxi to the location pinpointed by the directions. He finds an old contact, Christian Dessau, and convinces him to decrypt the drive from the safe box. The hidden malware on the drive makes Heather at the CIA aware of Bourne's area. She quickly tells Dewey, and a group in Berlin prepares. While viewing the files on the drive, Bourne discovers that his father was involved in the creation of Treadstone, What's more, see some enlistment prerequisites as Heather endeavors to remotely erase the records Bourne's memory is set off. He reviews the last day he saw his dad, who admitted to going with an expensive choice and communicated his adoration for his child before leaving minutes after the fact. Conceived listens to a blast and races to see his dad's car on fire and his dad dead. Getting back to the PC, Warren rapidly types up the name Malcolm Smith previously. The screen goes dull. The CIA calls the telephone and Heather talks first, proposing to help him. Dewey takes over, attempting to stall him, but Heather intervenes again, sending a covert warning to Bourne about the incoming. He uses this information to slip away unnoticed. Later on, Heather manages to persuade her superiors to allow her a face-to-face meeting with Bourne with the hope of convincing him to return to the program. Heather plans to use Bourne's newly acquired knowledge as an influence to step him back. In the meantime, Aaron and his tech group are talking about eliminating specific records that award the CIA admittance to their servers anyway. A review is forced on them by the Equity Division, an unmistakable move from Dewey. Accordingly, Aaron educates his right-hand man to accumulate all records of his gatherings with Dewey as protection as they head to Vegas for an upcoming event. Bourne, on the other hand, is investigating Heather's profile online, trying to understand her motives for helping him. Meanwhile, Dewey contacts the asset, instructing him to move to London. Not long after Dewey gets stated that Aaron is arranging something critical in Vegas, Bourne goes to London and boldly contacts Malcolm Smith, setting up a meeting location. Heather's plan to approach and engage Bourne is in progress, with the corrosive on backup for any muddled. Suddenly, the corrosive kills 2 of his men unobtrusively, alerting Dewey to his actions. After dispatching 2 more, Dewey seizes control of Heather's operation, declaring that there will be no discussion with Bourne and giving the resource full freedom to execute him in the bustling square. Smith remains with the resource expert marksman scope prepared on him. Abruptly, crisis alerts reverberation through the encompassing structure, setting off frenzy and turmoil. Amid the disarray, Bourne seizes Smith and makes a speedy break, momentarily staring at Heather. In the process, he drives Smith through a secret entryway, examining him concerning his dad's thought processes and having Smith tail him as Dewey tunes and subtly conceived compromises. A quiet Smith hauling him to the roof for additional scrutinizing, with Dewey training Smith to stay quiet. Conceived keeps on squeezing him for replies about his dad's activities. Under Bourne's tenacious strain, Smith at last admits, in the wake of discovering that Jason was chosen for the program, his dad chose to leave Treadstone and uncover the CIA's covert activities. Richard was killed, with his death set up to look like it was an attack on America. This revelation is interrupted by the asset, who Bourne recognizes as his father's real murderer, shoots and kills Smith. Bourne then utilizes electrical links to arrive on the ground. When the corrosive shows up at the scene, Jason is as of now gone. Unbeknownst to him, Conceived has obtained Smith's earpiece and tunes in on a discussion among Dewey and the resource, where Dewey trains the resource for head to Vegas and commitments an arrangement for managing Bourne. Jason then chooses to speak with Heather, who uncovers to him that Iron Hand is taking advantage of Aaron's innovation to lead aimless surveillance on the public. She offers to help Jason get rid of Dewey, even though her reason is so she can take his job. Dewey arrives in Vegas, increasingly worried about Bourne coming after him. Meanwhile, Heather assists Bourne in clearing airport customs and successfully sneaking him into Vegas. As the guests start to gather for the expo, Bourne, wearing a cap to remain unnoticeable, slips a GPS beacon onto Heather, training her by means of a message to plant it on Dewey. Aaron and Heather then make their way onto the stage as the event's main guest, as Aaron is going to address the group. The resource puts on a glove with another person's fingerprints, prepared to execute his central goal. Dewey, understanding that Heather has assisted Bourne with getting into the nation, teaches the resource for killing both Aaron and Heather. As Aaron begins his admission, the resource prepares his weapon to execute him in the nick of time. Bourne tracks down the resource and upsets his plans, prompting Aaron to have chanced non-lethally. The resulting confusion makes the group escape, giving the ideal cover to get away from Dewey's request to be taken to his suite, and Conceived figures out how to follow his area in the meantime nearby, policing to distinguish both the resource and Jason. However, Conceived outmaneuvers them by hopping into a lift and debilitating it. He at last stands up to Dewey in his suite, looking for deals with any consequences regarding the untruths he has been taking care of throughout the long term. Dewey tells him that his father lacked the resolve that Bourne possesses, and that Bourne will never find peace until he acknowledges who he truly is. Similarly, as the showdown warms up, Jeffers bursts in and shoots Conceived, yet in addition getting hit. As Dewey attempts to shoot Bourne himself, he is suddenly shot by Heather. Bourne lets Heather know that she wasn't involved, and then immediately leads to chase down the asset. The assassin has already killed a SWAT member and commandeered an armored police vehicle. Bourne commandeers a black Dodge and launches himself after the asset. The authorities join in, yet Conceived skillfully moves around them. The resource attempts to shake Brought into the world by crushing the van into his vehicle driving. Brought into the world onto the contrary roadside. Notwithstanding this, Bourne stays hot on the resource's tail and raises a ruckus around town, causing the accompanying squad cars to crash. Confronted with approaching traffic, the resource steps on the gas pedal, smashing through the cars to make away. However, Conceived is persistent and keeps on pursuing the resource, and then attempts to outmaneuver Bourne by attempting to crash his car into a wall using a move Bourne invented himself, but Bourne is all too familiar with it and knows how to keep the chase alive. The asset continues his reckless driving, crashing into car after car in a frantic endeavor to get away, yet Jason, tired of the pursuit, speeds up and stirs things up around town with enough power. Slipped turning, the corrosive leaves the van and attempts to get away from it by walking, yet Conceived isn't a long way behind. He corners the corrosive in a burrow, and the two participate in a ruthless hand-to-hand battle. The battle is horrible, with Jason acquiring the high ground early on. The acid pulls a knife, but Jason skillfully evades the attack, disarms him, and the fight resumes, this time with uncovered clenched hands. Horn at last acquires the advantage, hammering the corrosive onto the ground and holding his throat with a strong crush that closes the battle. Getting his retribution, he leaves staggering from the injuries he suffered in the interim. Kalor, having endured the shot, proceeds with his work, currently more settled than at any other time, to uncover the functions of Iron Hand in Washington. Heather meets with the delegate chief to talk about Dewey's activities and the opportunity to begin once again. She requests an advancement to Dewey's situation and demands she's the best individual to bring into the world back in later. Heather finds destined to give him his dad's award. She attempts to convince him to join her, however Conceived remains cautious, saying he'll think of her as a recommendation. As Heather gets back to her vehicle, she finds a recorder playing it. She hears her whole discussion with the delegate chief recorded by Conceived, including her expressed expectation to dispose of him if he doesn't consent. Conceived leaves, stepping down the park pathway, and with that, our story comes to an end.
We hope you enjoyed watching. Please hit the like button and share with your friends and family, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more awesome content like this. Until next time, take care, and we'll see you in the next video.